A man in his 60s slides a folder across the table. His hands are weathered. He's been running this business for 31 years. Built it from nothing. He's finally decided to sell. The time has come. His body is telling him it's time. You're across from him. You have 90,000 pounds in savings. You have nobody recognizing your name. By the end of this journey, you'll own 20 companies. You'll have built a holding company worth 500 million pounds. You'll own other people's life's work. Decades of their labor, 30 years of their sweat. But here's the part nobody warns you about. There's almost nobody left to sell it to. 4 out of 5 businesses that go up for sale never close a deal, never find a buyer. They just close, disappear, cease to exist. Today, we're going to explore the 15 levels of building a holding company in the UK. From a searcher with 90,000 pounds to a builder with 500 million pounds. From zero to £500 million. If you're interested in business, wealth building, entrepreneurship, how holding companies work, and unconventional paths to extraordinary wealth, subscribe to Surprising. Every week we explore business models that actually work. We examine how ordinary people build extraordinary companies. We discuss strategies that generate real wealth. We reveal the secrets of successful entrepreneurs. Subscribe now so you don't miss our next video on business and entrepreneurship. Turn on notifications so you never miss an upload, and thanks for watching. This is the story of how one person built a 500 million pounds holding company, starting with virtually nothing. Reason 15, Level 1. The Searcher, the man with 90,000 pounds and a spreadsheet. You are 31 years old. You have 90,000 pounds in savings. You have a spreadsheet with 900 businesses, pulled from broker listings, pulled from county records. You are not buying anything yet. You are looking, just looking, and looking is its own job, one that pays absolutely nothing. The model has a name. They call it self-funded search. You want a business throwing off about £1 million per year in sellers' discretionary earnings. The cash an owner actually takes home. Not accounting nonsense. Real money. Businesses that size trade for roughly 3 to 3.5 times that number. So you're hunting for something with a price tag near £5 million. You have 90,000 pounds. The gap is the entire problem you have to solve. You learn to read a profit and loss statement the way a mechanic listens to an engine. You learn that the owner has been running his personal truck through the business, his wife's salary, a boat. Untangling the real number from the story he tells himself is the actual skill. Every pound of add-backs you can defend lifts the price a buyer will pay by 3 or 4. You drive 4 hours to meet a man who makes industrial filters. He sells you nothing. He really just wants to be talked out of retiring. You mail people who never raise their hand. The ones who haven't decided to sell yet. The real edge is proprietary. Before there's a process. Before there's a bidding war. The first business you fall in love with dies on the operating table. The numbers look clean until you ask one boring question. Who are your 3 biggest customers? The answer is that one account is 60% of revenue. The contract is up for renewal in 8 months. Nobody else close behind. That isn't a business. That's one phone call away from being nothing. You walk. It costs you 2 months and a lawyer's bill. Most searchers quit somewhere between the 10th dead deal and the morning they realize nobody is going to hand them anything. You send 41 letters in a month. You get 2 replies. One of them is the folder. Reason 14. Level 2. The buyer. The man who doesn't have 3.8 million pounds. The folder turned into a number. The number is 3,800,000 pounds. You are 32 years old. You do not have 3,800,000 pounds. So you learn how a person with 90,000 pounds buys something for almost 4 million. The answer is that you don't buy it. The bank does. You just sign for it. The instrument is a government-backed loan called an SBA equivalent in the UK, an asset-based lending agreement. It will lend up to £5 million against a business acquisition. The structure is a stack, a pyramid of debt. The bank funds about 80%. The seller carries a note for 10 or 15%. The man across the table is lending you part of his own asking price, betting on a buyer he just met. You write a check for the last 10%. 10% of £3,800,000 is £380,000. You have £90,000. You raise the rest from 2 old colleagues. They get a slice of the company for their investment. Your savings account drops to almost zero in a single wire. Then you learn the trick that buys you breathing room. Under the loan's rules, the seller's note can count toward your required equity, but only if it sits on full standby. He can't collect a pound of principal or interest for the first 2 years. You ask the man who built this over 3 decades to wait 2 years. He agrees because he wants the deal to close as badly as you do. That standby note is the difference between a deal that funds and one that doesn't. Before any of it funds, the bank sends in accountants, a quality of earnings review. They find that the seller has been counting next year's deposits as this year's revenue. It shaves the real earnings. Nearly kills the price. There's the working capital peg, the part nobody warns you about. You have to argue over how much cash and inventory the seller leaves inside the business. If he sweeps the accounts on his way out, you inherit a company that can't make payroll in week 1. You win that fight by inches. Then the lawyer slides one more page across. You sign an unlimited personal guarantee. The bank takes a lien on your house. If the business dies, you don't just lose the business, you lose the place you sleep. You sign anyway. The seller shakes your hand. For the first time, you notice he looks relieved. Not richer. You are 32 years old and £3 million in debt. Reason 13. Level 3. The operator. The man who owns a job. The first morning, nobody looks at you. You learn exactly what a name on a loan document is worth on a shop floor. Which is nothing. The general manager who has run the place for 19 years answers your questions like every answer costs him something. The woman who does the billing has a faster read on the company's real margin than you do. This is the level that kills most people. And it kills them quietly. You took on £3 million of debt to buy yourself a job. Your salary is £200,000. But the loan eats the cash before you ever see it. You learn the only number the bank watches, debt service coverage, the ratio of cash the business throws off to the loan payment it owes. The bank wants that cushion at roughly 1.25. The month it dips under 1, the cushion is gone. The payment is coming out of money the company doesn't have. So you do the unglamorous things. You raise the prices the previous owner was too kind to raise. You fire the customer who's been paying 90 days late since 2009. You sit with the 19-year general manager at a diner. You don't pitch him. You ask him what he'd fix if it were his. You do 3 of the 4 things he says. On the 4th morning, he starts looking at you when you walk in. By year 3, the business throws off enough that after the loan and taxes, you're clearing close to £800,000 a year. The debt is shrinking. The lien on your house is still there. But the fear has dulled into a number on a statement. And that's the trap of this level. You are comfortable. One business paid out. A clean £800,000 a year. Most people stop right here. A quieter version of you would too. But the folder taught you something the comfortable version doesn't know yet. There are 10,000 more owners turning 65 every single day, and you just learned how to swallow one. Reason 12, Level 4. The acquirer. The man building multiple acquisitions. You are 36. You own one business outright. You're about to do something the bank would have called insane 4 years ago. You're going to buy a second one, then a third, using the first one as the engine, as the collateral, as the cash cow. You buy companies one at a time at 3 or 3.5 times their earnings. Because at that size, the price is tied to one tired owner. But the instant 2 or 3 of them sit under the same roof with shared bookkeeping and shared back office, everything changes. The combined thing stops being priced like a Main Street shop, starts being priced like a real company. The same pound of profit that was worth 3 times inside a small business is worth 6 or 8 times inside a bigger one. You aren't getting smarter. You're buying the same earnings cheap, holding them somewhere they're worth double. That spread has a name, multiple arbitrage. It's the closest thing to free money in the entire economy. This is where you stop being an operator and become an allocator. You hire a CEO to run the first business, a controller to keep the books across all of them. Your day is no longer the shop floor. Your day is the next deal, but you're borrowing against borrowing now. Each new acquisition adds another personal guarantee, another lien, another business that has to perform. One deal closes with a roofing company whose owner dies of a heart attack 6 weeks after. His foreman quits the same week. Just like that, you own a business with no one left who knows how it runs. The cushion you spent 4 years building goes thin in a single quarter. You're awake at 3 in the morning doing math you've already done 100 times, hoping it comes out different. Reason 11, Level 5. The builder, the man creating a holding company. The roofing company survives because you promote the dispatcher who actually ran it. You double her pay before she can think about leaving. You are 40. You own 8 businesses now. The thing you've built has a name, a floor of its own, a real title on the door. It is no longer a collection of deals, it's a holding company. The shift at this level is that you stop buying companies and start building the machine that buys companies. You set up a central management company that sits above all 8 businesses. It handles the accounting, the insurance, the hiring, the financing, all the parts of running a business that every single one was doing badly and alone. Each company pays a management fee up to the parent. That fee is how the cash climbs from the businesses into the holding company at the top. It's structured and taxed so the money pulls where you can aim it at the next deal. You learn the cruelest, most useful trick in the whole model now. Once a business you bought has paid its original loan down, you refinance it. You put fresh debt back on it. That new borrowed cash gets paid up to you as a dividend while you still own 100%. They call it a dividend recap. It means you can pull your original £90,000 back out, many times over, without ever selling a thing. The risk goes back onto the business. The cash comes home to you. Reason 10, Level 6. The holding company owner. The man with £500 million. You hold. That's the call you made and never announced. It's the whole reason any of the rest of this happens. You don't sell the 8 companies to anyone, and you don't sell the next 12 either. You are 47 now. The $500 million in the title is real. It does not look like anything you imagined at 31. 20 companies, filters and roofing and HVAC and commercial laundry, pest control routes and regional plumbing operations. None of them glamorous, all of them throwing off cash. Together, they do hundreds of millions in revenue. The equity you own across the whole structure is worth roughly £500 million on paper. One real-world version of this model runs 16 companies, £350 million in revenue, £50 million in free cash flow per year, and never plans to sell a single one. You can see the whole board now, and the view from up here is something the comfortable version of you at level 3 could never have seen. The private equity firms have noticed what you noticed. Apollo owns a home services roll-up. Blackstone bought one platform at over 18 times earnings. They're running your strategy with billions instead of a wire from your savings account. They're paying multiples you can't match for the same boring businesses you used to buy for 3 times earnings. The water you fished in alone for 16 years is now full of much larger boats. But you have something they structurally cannot have. They run on a clock. A PE fund buys the platform, bolts on add-ons for 4 to 7 years, then has to sell. Its investors were promised an exit and a return. You promised no one anything. You can hold forever. Reason 9, Level 7. The competitive advantage. The man with something money can't buy. You can keep a 70-year-old founder's name on the door because you're never flipping the building. So when a seller in his 60s slides you the folder now, you can tell him the one thing no private equity buyer can say, that you will not gut his company in 3 years to dress it up for the next buyer. That one sentence wins you deals that money can't. You make the largest acquisition of your life this year. At the closing table, the seller is your own age. He looks at you across the folder the way you once looked across it from the other side. You realize you've become the person you were terrified of at 32. Reason 8, Level 8. The reflection. Understanding what it all means. You still haven't answered the question of what any of this was for, until a much older man makes you answer it. Go back to the first folder. The man in his 60s who slid it across the table 16 years ago, the one who looked relieved instead of richer. You stay in touch with him the way you don't with most sellers, because he was the first. Over a lunch he insists on paying for. Years later, he tells you something he never said at the closing. He had 3 other people look at the business before you. 2 were bigger and better funded. They offered more money and a faster close. He turned them both down because both of them told him, in the polite language of the industry, that the first thing they'd do is replace his people. They'd sell within 5 years. He didn't want to be flipped. He wanted his 31 years to keep existing after his name came off the lease. There are £10 trillion of business value sitting in the hands of people his age right now. The entire economy is built around treating that value as inventory to be flipped. Reason 7, Level 9. The cost. What this actually requires. Here is what the £500 million climb actually cost. The bill didn't land where you'd expect. The cost is structural, and it sits on the seller side of the table, not yours. Every year, a vast number of these businesses don't sell to anyone and simply close. Millions of them will hit the market this decade. 4 out of 5 will never find a buyer. When they close, the jobs and the routes and the 31 years just end. Reason 6. Level 10. The truth. Why you actually won. You didn't win because you were the smartest allocator in the room. You won because you were willing to promise the one thing nobody with real money will promise. That you'd let the thing keep living. That you'd keep the founder's name on the door. That you wouldn't gut the company and flip it in 3 years. That's the quiet question the whole industry produces and never answers. Reason 5, Level 11. The system. How the economy actually works. The economy needs someone to catch the 10,000 owners who age out every day. It rewards the buyers who promise to flip them fastest. The man who built something real for 30 years has to bet his entire life's work on a stranger's word about what happens after he's gone. That's the tension that nobody talks about. The system is broken in that way. Reason 4, Level 12. The accountability. Keeping your word. You kept your word to the first one. The folder is still in your files, and you are not sure, even now, at the top of a £500 million holding company, that the system would ever have let you climb this high. If you'd been just a little more honest about how much faster the money comes when you don't keep your word. Reason 3, Level 13. The competition. Playing in a different game. By the time you reach £500 million, you're no longer playing the same game as the searcher with £90,000. But you're playing a game nobody else can play because they run on a clock. You don't. They have to sell. You don't. That's not an advantage you can measure in conventional terms. That's a structural advantage that money can't buy. Reason 2, Level 14. The legacy. What stays behind? You've built 20 companies that will keep running. 20 businesses that will keep providing jobs. Keep serving customers. Keep generating wealth. Not for you. For everyone around you. That's the real legacy. Not the £500 million. Not the prestige. The thousands of jobs. The families fed. The communities supported. That's what stays behind when you're gone. Reason 1. Level 15. The question. What was it all for? The question that haunts you at the top is simple and unanswerable. What was it all for? Was it the money? You already had enough after Level 3. Was it the status? You already had respect after Level 6. Was it the competition? You already had winners and losers. Or was it because you discovered something true about yourself? That you were willing to work for 30 years building something that nobody else was willing to build. That you were willing to do the unglamorous work. To learn the unglamorous skills. To make the unglamorous deals. While everyone else was looking for the glamorous shortcut. That was the real win. The rest is just noise.